Thank you so much, Alex. And of course, Christopher, it's great to hear from him as well. And it's been phenomenal to just watch that team throughout the entirety of the season. There's so much to look back and be proud of.
Yeah, I think this definitely wasn't the showing they were hoping for. It wasn't what they're capable of, and I think it's a team that we could see having more success in the future. Definitely a tough spot to be for Christopher, but props to him for putting a brave face on and coming out for the losers interview there. Definitely not a spot that any competitive player, any competitive coach wants to find themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their resume this year, of course, and they're two-time state champions in EMEA as well as, going really deep in the Dallas tournament as well. So we hype up SSG, we know what they're capable of, but unfortunately came up short here in Stockholm. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, also, you can't take this away. This wasn't necessarily SSG, dropping the ball. Twisted Minds have been playing out of their mind. They have a phenomenal day. All those players, they're on today. So it wasn't SSG's to win this time around. They're the first team to be eliminated. As we're looking at this bracket, we have one more match here in the lower bracket that we will be covering tonight. That's NRG Shock and ENCE, both finding themselves in the unfortunate position as well. And only one can continue on their journey here through the lower bracket. Let's discuss those two teams and also what we've seen from them thus far in the tournament. ENCE, quite frankly, I mean, they turned it up at the end of their series, but it was just a little too late, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, that Shambali looked really good against Toronto Defiant. They had a really solid first-point hold, and it gave me shades of when they actually full-held Virtus Pro earlier in the year in the EMEA stages, right? So they had some really good moments as well here. Kevster playing some of the Echo as well and trying to duel against Sugar Free. I think this was one of the cases where, of course, you're forced to play Ilios because Toronto Defiant, they have the higher seed. They're really comfortable on this map as well. And then you're not quite able to get the job done on the Mauga composition either. Again, this ENCE team, I don't think they're playing their best game when it comes to this Mauga meta, but you're still seeing some of these players that are incredibly skilled make some plays for it. For example, Kevster on that Echo, like you talked about today, Jake. Echo gives you that capability to go aggressive, make some plays, get a good duplicate going, and feed off that momentum to try and win some of these fights. Kai as well on the Reapers done some good things, but again, it comes down to the small details. Are you over-investing ultimates in fights, for example? And that was something that Toronto Defiant, incredibly good team, they capitalized on that. So just some small adjustments for ENCE, and I think they should be the favorite in this matchup.
The thing is, both of these teams which are facing off against one another right now, they had a tall order in their matches, right? Going up against Toronto Defiant, the giants of the NA regions. On the other side, NRG Shock, they had the unfortunate pleasure of going up against Raccoon. Crazy Raccoon have been such a dominant team. They're the favorite to potentially even win it all here in Sweden. So did we really learn a lot from NRG Shock? Because while ENCE made it close at the end there, the NRG Shock, they suffered quite a beatdown.
Yeah, I think both of these teams definitely didn't have the start to the tournament they were hoping for, but it probably wasn't a huge shock to them both being, I think it's fair to say, underdogs in their opening matches. So now it's time for NRG, I think, to show us what they prepared. They have been a team, the rumor mill and scrims, they've been a team that has been off meta as well, playing their own style. So maybe they'll be able to bring that to bear against ENCE. The worry for ENCE, though, is that maybe ENCE are happy to get this off of the meta, right? Like, the Reaper Echo, they played decently well against Toronto, but that can't be their most ideal comp, especially for somebody like Vistola, who would love to be playing more of like a classic off-tank where he can really, really shine. So curious to see what NRG bring here, what their look is, what they've been prepping, because as I've been heard, they've been cooking. So maybe that'll be what they need to get over the line against ENCE.
We've heard the same scrimbox, Jake. We have heard the same thing.
Share with us.
Well, I'm really looking forward to see what NRG can do in this matchup, especially because I think a lot of people following Overwatch Esports so far this year, they saw what NRG did in Stage 4 and they ended up 5th in the region, and they're thinking, I'm going to rank them. I saw a lot of power rankings going into Stockholm, and a lot of people put NRG Shock at the bottom of that. And maybe that's justifiable considering they ended 5th. But I think they're on the up and up. I like some of the compositions we've been seeing from them. And I actually do think that now going up against ENCE, which is not Crazy Raccoon, they stand a pretty good chance of winning in this one. So I would not be surprised at all if we see NRG hinting towards an upset.
Why are you grinning, Jay?
I'm just fine because I think it's fair to say, you don't learn much from a team losing to Crazy Raccoon, right?
Yeah.
You can take away, they got stopped by Crazy Raccoon. Maybe they're not such a threat. Well, this is Crazy Raccoon we're talking about. The transitive property is not really going to apply. No other team is, especially like that ball on a Lucio comp. If you lose it, it's like no one else will even try to play that but Crazy Raccoon. That's just their style. That's their wheelhouse. So for NRG, yes, going down 0-2 in a brutal stomp against CR, it sucks. It's not how you want to start. You would hope to make that more competitive, but you can go up against ENCE with confidence. Losing to Crazy Raccoon doesn't mean anything for facing a European team. And frankly, NRG, I mean, NA has been on top so far this tournament. We'll see if ENCE can be the one team to actually defeat a North American squad.
They have. Don't sleep. Well, it would really hurt if ENCE went out in this matchup.
That would be rough.
You know, my fellow European teams, like that would hurt.
And we were both so confident throughout the entirety of the year. Every time he tried to like say anything about how NA is good, we're like, please.
We're not playing favorites here, but at the same time, I don't need Jake talking trash to me and Zoe on the desk. So
we'd have to suffer an entire year if that were the case. So ENCE got to do it not just for themselves, but also for us.
Please.
Yeah.
The trash talk would just be unbelievable. I can't.
Look, we got smoked. NA got smoked in Dallas. It's just the obvious truth. But now it's NA's time to shine.
To counter smoke.
NRG, though, they're the last qualifier from NA, right? They should be the easiest team to beat out of that region. But I do think, some of these players, you get Tree on a hot game, you get Ultraviolet able to pop off maybe on some heroes where the individual skill can be more impactful. These are some of the strongest mechanical players that we have from the region, and I think even against titans like Kevster, it could be a tough test for ENCE.
Yeah, it was a meta issue for NRG back in Stage 4, right? They couldn't get comfortable on that kind of meta. But then in Stage 3, we actually saw NRG excel, and like they actually beat Toronto Defiant in Stage 3 in their upper bracket match, right? And that was on the back of Kellan, playing a fantastic Winston. Ultraviolet had a fantastic Stage 3, and Tree, we talk about him a lot as well. This young prodigy, 17 years old from North America, who could become one of the best players in the entire world, right? So there is a lot of individual skill on this NRG Shock roster. They just have to put it together, and they have to find a way to excel in this kind of meta. Now, Twisted Minds as well. Underdog coming into the tournament, but Twisted Minds found a way. Now we have to ask ourselves, did they find a way to maybe win this tournament as well?
I mean, just gotta send good energy to both of these teams. A lot of good things to say about either roster really throughout the season, but it all comes down to this. They're now in this elimination match, so they need any advantage they can get, such as cool drops. What a transition.
Wow.
Anyway, you can get them throughout the next 3 days. Listen, I'm trying my best here. I'm very tired to reinforce.
No, sorry.
Thank you. We still haven't figured out why the horse is red, but we're on the case.
Play Torb, you cowards.
Play Torb? That's tomorrow. That's Saturday, Jake. Torb is tomorrow. That's the day of Torb. Today is the day of Brig, and we've certainly seen a lot of Brig.
Fair enough. Yeah, everyone's going to be playing Torb tomorrow, Johnny.
We've seen some Baptiste as well. So, it wasn't all Brig out there. We also seen some Baptiste variations.
Do you think I could convince Lip to play Torb?
Yes. I mean, he's good at Torb.
That might be your best bet. That might be your best bet.
That would be just priceless. I'd love to see that.
A little Lip Torb action.
Yeah. Where's the Torbjorn voice actor?
Never say never.
I need to get him on the desk. Come on.
Right. Well, we'll effort for you. We'll effort for you. Also, of course, if you haven't logged in a while, today's the day to do so. Or in fact, you have more days until the 24th, in fact, to get those login rewards. It's all about those neon streets.
This one's easy. Just open the client.
Literally.
Just come on. Log in and open the client.
How do you feel about neon streets, Jake?
This is a gimme. I like this. I like the name card. It's flashy.
Good vibes. Yeah, I like it.
Rocking the OWCS logo on the neon streets. I like it.
Yeah.
I love your contribution to that one. Yeah.
Well, I got to talk about the Swedish drops. Now, am I disappointed that there's no Swedish food included in the drops? Maybe.
Well, what would you have?
There's always the next time, maybe.
I would love a Swedish meatballs plate.
Yeah, give me a Swedish meatball spray.
Way in this country.
A Swedish meatball spray.
They are.
Come on.
They're very good. They're very good. I got to put some respect on them.
You had some incredible Swedish meatballs.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I think the readability of Cut Buller on a spray will just be a little odd. It's just like brown.
Well, you need to get the mashed potatoes, the lingonberries.
Okay, you got to... The what?
Yeah, the lingonberries. You got to make a meal out of it.
All right.
Pickled cucumber.
That's what I had last night.
I'll call some people. I'll call my people for you. We see what we can do. For now, we're heading into a quick break. And then afterwards, we're hopefully back with the last series of the day. So stick around. Welcome back once again to the OWCS World Finals here at DreamHack Stockholm. We're live here in the venue. It's still going on. The day started
got one more match.
A hot minute ago. Yeah, we had a lot of matches to get through. In fact, 7 matches, not just 6 that you saw on the schedule. No, we also had a show match. And you both played in it. And Johnny, what's the score, the overall show match score between you and Jake?
Who counts? No one counts,
if
though.
someone were to count,
no one counts. It's for fun.
It's very humble of you, Johnny.
Isn't that what they do these days? They don't keep score. They just play for fun.
That's true.
It's easy to be humble if you're leading 3-0.
That's what it's all about.
I'm Swedish. I'm trying to be nice. That's what we do.
Does that have to do with you being sweet?
Yeah. I think Swedish people are generally nice. So I'm trying to represent.
I so far have very nice experiences, so I give you that one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that show match, though. Let's talk about your experience. We saw a Hazard in action, which is obviously super exciting. Let's talk about his abilities.
Yeah, super fun hero, super dynamic. Definitely was interesting getting a feel for especially that shift ability, the violent leap. Really powerful, but also, interesting to control. I think I didn't explore this very much, but the vault, I think it was really interesting to have something like that on a tank, right? Like that little mini wall climb, you're able to climb up on ledges. It makes a huge difference having that on a passive where you're not waiting on some cooldown. You can kind of constantly maneuver around the map. And I think definitely didn't fully explore that so far, just being able to play one match, but I feel like that's going to be maybe the most interesting part of the kit from my perspective.
I mean, that's what makes so many of these Overwatch heroes so much fun, right? Like the wall. How can you use the wall? How can you be creative with that? That's what I love about the Overwatch heroes, and Hazard is another one that provides that kind of creative function.
Absolutely. Now we are finally ready to send it over to the stage for our last match of the day. So Golden Boy, take it away.
Thank you so much for that, Zoe. All right, Stockholm, how you feeling today? You good? Let's try one more time, because these guys weren't even cheering over here. Stockholm, how you feeling? You good? There we go. We even got the people in the back excited and joining us. All right, folks, what better way to close it out than with a classic NA-EU matchup yet again. This time around, a lot is on the line. The winner moves on. The loser goes home. So let's go ahead and bring out your first team. Put your hands together for the EMEA's finest. It's ENCE!
The hometown heroes ENCE getting loud cheers in the building as they enter the lower bracket for a chance to stay alive at OWCS Stockholm. A stacked roster who's so consistent throughout the year. Who will turn up big for them here in the lower bracket matchup?
And their opponent also fighting for their tournament life on the line. Welcome to the stage, NRG Shock!
Your third seed qualifying out of NA, looking to get a win and stay alive here in this tournament. Their backs are against the wall. They face the hometown heroes. With all this pressure, they're the only ones who can get it done.
All right, coaches, go ahead and fist bump players. Take to your seats. Let's send it back to your casters one more time. You got Jaws and Necra on the call.
Thank you very much, Golden Boy. Yes. The final match of day number 1 here at the OWCS World Final. NRG Shock facing up against ENCE, another elimination game.
You don't want to be going home now. You do not want to be joining Space Station with your tournament life ending here. And I think this one is going to deliver hopefully 5 maps. I think this one could be really close.
Yeah, NRG Shock. They've been looking pretty good recently. ENCE the same, but another NA versus EU rivalry. And it would be sad to see another EU team go home, especially as we are in the continent. Funny enough.
NA versus EU, what a tale as old as time. I feel like this one, though, is a toss-up because on the one hand, you have ENCE, who have been very dominant in the EMEA region. They've been able to show us some really, really good team coordination. But on the other side of things, I feel like NRG Shock, they just consistently get better and better every single time we see them in tournament, every single time we see them hit the stage. I think they also have some pretty good plot armor. So who knows what's going to happen in this matchup.
Insane plot armor, that is for sure. Elimination, one of the squads will go home, but NRG Shock, I mean, the last time they actually faced up against ENCE was back in Dallas, in the Dallas Major, and ENCE ended up winning that series 3-1. A very different look from both teams, of course. The meta, quite different, you would say. Not hard, Malga.
And that's what the desk was bringing up. When you take a look at ENCE, maybe this is a team that would rather be able to play something like an off-tank. Festola very good at things like Sigma, D.Va. Not to say that he can't show up on something like the Mauga, but his comfort certainly lies with those off-tank heroes. On the flip side of things, I think you take a look at NRG Shock's roster and you put a lot of faith in this DPS lineup. Scissors and Tree, 2 fantastic DPS players. But let's go ahead and see this match unfold.
Not ENCE. Over on the left, NRG Shock on the right side of the stage. Final elimination game of today. As we load into map number 1, which starts out on Oasis once again.
Oasis, a fan favorite for a lot of these teams. They've all had a lot of scrim experience on this map, and I also think that it plays to a lot of their individual strengths. So many different rounds, so many different type of compositions that you can end up seeing, but I think we're going to see pretty classic things coming out from ENCE. But for NRG Shock, this is a team that sometimes you can't always tell what they're going to run. And it's going to be Kellen on the Junker Queen with this Sombra and Echo setup.
Yeah, I mean, the Des touched on it. Another team that's been playing a little bit off meta. A little bit more to their vibe, a little bit more to their strength. Kellen on the Queen is really interesting. The comp, again, another comp that has to go fairly quickly. The sustained damage from ENCE cannot be understated. ENCE going super low though is hitting NRG Shock. Not satisfied with letting the point go. A lot of sticky bomb damage coming through from Scissors.
Very difficult for NRG Shock to want to play fast when you know you have to run into something like Kai's Reaper already with a quick pick early on in this map. And you see NRG Shock having come back in, full team of 5, but you're waiting for Tree to actually get this set up with something like a hack.
I was like 1 HP there, managed to get the Wraith Walk off. Didn't quite meet the Grim Reaper just yet. Orbital Ray launched in by Sky as Vestola's hacked in the front line. Needs some serious help. Luckily, the Orbital Ray is going to do a good job of that. But a rather late one here from NRG Shock. The Rampage comes in, but it doesn't matter. It's already done. ENCE have lost Kellex and Vestola. They're all trapped in with that copy cage from Scissors. As ENCE, as quick as they cap that point, will be as quick as they lose it.
Double support ultimates expended for ENCE. They can still rely on their heavy-hitting DPS and Kevstar and Kai to deliver a big blow. But NRG Shock have this EMP. Something that we haven't seen a whole lot of as of latest is Sombra. An EMP can be a huge fight finisher, especially if you're able to hit multiple targets, looking at the key targets being that Mauga as well as that Brig.
Double DPS ult available as well from ENCE. Kevstar doesn't end up getting dragged back in, but there's the early from Rack Attack. Much harder fight now, even if you got the Blade and the Death Blossom. Tree looking for a manual hack there in the front line. Doesn't quite get it, but scares ENCE off.
ENCE have to know that Tree has this EMP, so you have to play around it.
EMP comes in, only hits one. It's going to be Vestola. Blade pod from Kevstar. He's looking at the backline, but it's Scissors is going to be the one to fell the Genji. My word, NRG Shock just running rings around ENCE right now. What meta are we in? Oh, right now it's NRG Shock's meta. This Queen comp with the Sombra is looking clean.
How often do you get practice against this, too? Shock, with this composition, get a chance to really rely on the DPS prowess of Scissors and Tree. Go for something like the hack. Scissors has also been a complete solo agent, being able to play this Echo. Has good duplicate for this next fight as well.
Yeah, duplicate, Rampage. ENCE have got the tools to kind of waylay that. They got a Juno ult, they got that Orbital Ray. But here comes the TP from Kai, looking for an alternate angle. But here comes the Orbital Ray, but Kevs is already dead. NRG Shock up one, and they put that Mauga copy as Scissors tries to get a little bit messy. Kellen is going to have to back off this cage, and the Death Blossom too deadly for NRG Shock.
One way you can certainly make good use of that Death Blossom is to pair it with that cage. Otherwise, it can sometimes be a little bit tricky being able to get it past this Brig and those shield bashes we know Rack Attack is so good with. But when you take a look at NRG Shock, they're still holding the front line.
Okay.
Pause coming through, though.
It looks like Sky's keyboard DC'd or something. He was like just standing there. All good, we'll get that sorted. And I want to mention too, going into that next fight, I mean, NRG Shock have 93% on the point. And obviously you needed to win that, right, if you were ENCE, but now you can come back and you only have to battle against one ultimate coming through from ENCE. So their life very much teetering in the balance here. And Orbital Ray and just, well, any other ultimate kind of thrown on top. And sometimes you don't even need that. So a quick monitor issue again, just a quick cable issue. Unplugged it a little bit, maybe, not sure. I'm going to plug that back in and get into the game. Remember to pause quite quickly as well. So Sky didn't end up dying. You can see the rest of the team kind of jumping on him. Put the break shield in front of him. And sounds like we're going to go in as well. So not a long pause, just literally needed to plug it back in by the looks of it. He's ready to rock and roll yet again. And there you go. That's what I was talking about. Kellex with the only ultimate here for ENCE. They're going up against Rampage, Juno, Rally, and EMP. Almost everything.
So much stuff that's going to make ENCE so squishy. This rally's going to have to be really big.
They're going to use it first. Orbital Ray comes in. There's the Rampage. Whoa, doesn't connect. Kellex held up that big plasma screen TV and was able to stop any of that damage coming through. But now they got EMP. It does land, and it connects with 4 members of ENCE. Oh, they're just going to run over them now. No chance for ENCE to come back. Just an ultimate disadvantage. Classic Overwatch there. 95% of building for NRG Shock. ENCE looking for a touch.
Oh, it was going to be Kevster, but Kevster gets sniped out by that big whip shot by Rack Attack. And so NRG Shock, they take the first round of Oasis.
Yeah, Calyx and ENCE thinking they can go early. Pop the rally, hit the stun, maybe take someone out, but NRG Shock were waiting for it.
And it was a really big deal to get Kevster when they did, because he actually had an opportunity to go in with that duplicate. If he was able to stall with that, maybe you're able to get a big dupe onto something like the Junker Queen. Then you have an ability to maybe just stall for a little bit. It was still going to be a rough road for ENCE to be able to get back into that one, but there was a little bit of hope. Don't worry, go next. We've got another round of Oasis. NRG Shock, though, look like they want to run back the same comp that they were able to best ENCE on City Center. So how does ENCE actually respond? Because it wasn't working on City Center, just losing control early. NRG Shock made it so difficult for them to be able to actually get in and to try to get an advantage in any of those fights. They've got Kevster on this Genji, though. I love Kevster on this hero. He's so much fun to watch. Maybe this is the big difference here to deal with the Sombra.
High ground control for ENCE as well. Queen's very vulnerable here, kind of walking through, having to shout, using the speed ring to get into cover first. Looks like ENCE, they're going to make their move first. Rack Attack dead at the hands of Kevster, that Genji. A fearsome hero to zero if you're a backliner, even more so if it's piloted by one of the world's best. All right, ENCE, proactive gameplay there. Just getting on top of NRG Shock, not letting them get in, and as soon as you track that shout as well, oh, no, Scissor's got the mega health back, all good. That virus got reflected there, actually, onto the Echo.
It's important to know, I think we are playing with the Sombra changes, right? She actually becomes unstealth when you go for the hack. Maybe that helps, I don't know.
Orbital Ray from Sky here, 80%, just beating out Ultraviolet. First ultimate online probably will be Scissor's duplicate. Yeah, already got it. Just NRG Shock kind of farming the front line right now. Very easy to farm. Someone like the Mauga. Looks like Scissors wants to go pretty aggressive. Copies the Mauga. Has to get out though. Orbital Ray already deployed by ENCE. The shout comes in from NRG Shock, keeping everybody healthy in the front line. Stopping any instant picks coming in, but here comes the Orbital Ray from NRG Shock a little bit later this time around. And ENCE wanting to go first, wanting to be proactive, but not proactive enough. They didn't find any kills off of their own Orbital Ray, and now they're suffering the consequences.
No purchase. NRG Shock get a chance to flip the point, holding on to that EMP as well as the Rampage coming up pretty quickly. The really big ways that you can shut down something like Kevster's Blade, maybe even this cage from Vestola. There's some EMP just has some big ult potential here.
Even with the Rampage too, like you said, they're going to step up into the small room. Kev's already going pretty low. There's the Rampage, hits one. Vestola down, EMP. That's the final nail in that coffin. They're going to dig him a grave and shut it. Well, shut it shut, I suppose. All right, Vestola quickly going for a reset off the map. All right, NRG Shock continuing to hold the point. 2 big ultimates invested though. ENCE now have a couple of DPS ults of their own. This Kevster Blade. Will it get the job done?
We've got the Death Blossom as well. No cage to actually be able to combo that with, but it doesn't really matter when you have something like the Rally that could also make either of those DPS heroes unkillable.
Oh, for a huge! Kevster with perfect reactions there, dashing through trees, went for the translocate. Blade has been popped, and now they can go in. They're getting a match with this Rally though. A big multi-person stun there from Rack Attack, but it is the Death Blossom separating NRG Shock. You can see Rack Attack nowhere near the rest of his squad.
Big investment of that Rally to no avail, and throughout all of that chaos, ENCE is able to get the point flip. So we're looking at a potential last fight here for ENCE. They don't have anything else besides this Orbital Ray to work with. And so maybe this duplicate from NRG Shock can come in clutch, but ENCE right now, they can play a little bit more far forward.
This almost instantly gets taken out. Pops the duplication, hits over to the Mauga. Kellen's already claimed one though. Is that Orbital Ray? Not something Scissors wants to mess with. Dashes all the way back. That overrun coming in from Vestola as well. Puts himself on the point to trigger a little bit more time. 99% for ENCE now as NRG Shock take control of the point.
And they've got that big Wompo combo up again, looking at the Junker Queen as well as at Sombra to come in clutch here for NRG Shock. One more fight win stands between NRG Shock and taking the first map of the series. And so look at that EMP Rampage. Really big in a corridor, even in this main choke.
Ideally for NRG Shock here, they use one ult, then use the next. You can see Sky jumping over to the Kiriko. No, that's one of the big win conditions here.
Suzu could be a really good way to get the clean.
That is possible. Frame perfect, you're going to have to be. Tree setting up. Already used the Translocator to get to this high ground, get away from danger. But the EMP from up here is still as deadly as ENCE now have to dodge. Somehow, EMP lands on the cage. Good Suzu though from Sky, keeps him alive. But the blade's been pulled from Kevster. He's already claimed 2. A good Rampage hits Kellex and Vestola. But Kevster, he's done enough work, you've got to imagine. No kills come from NRG Shock after that. They eventually slay Kellex and Kai as overtime ticks down for ENCE.
Oh, it's just going to be Vestola and Kevster, though, that have to hold down the fort before Sky comes back with some healing.
ENCE do end up flipping that point as well, so they are in control currently. Rally available from Rack Attack, just needs to make it back to the point in time. Vestola taking too much damage, has to exit stage right. An axe swing goes a little bit wide, but Kellex eventually finished off, and now you're going to have to deal with this overhealth coming through from the Brig. A deflect, a dash away from Kevster, but it might be too little too late. Yep, it's the rally, it's all they needed. Rack Attack comes in, provides the overhealth, and jobs are good in for NRG Shock. They find the flip again, and find the first map.
Pretty back and forth there, but NRG Shock able to get the job done on that second point, win out that first map, and with that Junker Queen and Sombra. What combination, and struggled to find purchase in a lot of those fights because of the hacks that the Sombra was getting. You forced ENCE to have to use a ton of cooldowns to actually make sure you can take those engagements. And good stuff from NRG Shock.
Like we said earlier too, like how often do you get to practice against this kind of composition?
You have to figure out how to deal with it on the fly.
Almost, yeah. I mean, of course you ask Scrim, you can ask the Scrim partners, hey, could you play this comp a little bit? But no one is going to play it like the team that's going to almost perma run it. Queen and the Sombra. I can imagine Tree is going to be a little bit flexible here. Of course, depending on what map we're actually going to go to.
Tree is a super deep hero pool, so that's what makes him such a big threat for this team, and why a lot of times when you play against a team like NRG Shock, you kind of don't know what you're going to get.
Right. I mean, Tree was that next up-and-coming prodigy, right, after Sugar Free. Once he kept the stick on this Genji too. An impressive force, sometimes brought down, but I mean, that is insane. The focus fire there is just so nice.
I mean, look at how many assists.
Yeah. I mean, Scissors too. You spoke about it. We spoke about it to death, I feel like, especially in NA. How Scissors and Tree have just been such a massive boom for the team. Just incredible star-studded DPS lineup. And this works out for them. I mean, Kellen's, his Wrecking Ball was a little bit uninspiring when we've seen it in the past, right? Not going to pull a Jumbin anytime soon, but the Queen looks clean from Kellen so far.
I think the Queen does one of those things that makes it difficult for teams is, you know, you have to have a really strong team play to be able to play against something like that. And especially when you're going to have the Sombra to disrupt a lot of the ways you might want to fight against that. It's be really difficult to actually get in and go face-to-face with something like the Junker Queen. I think Gracie also, you just pull somebody out of that big clump of team and take them out.
NRG knowing their win condition there as well. Jumping in with the EMP, cancelling the cage. Suzu comes in from Sky, and it's like, well, now it's game over for you. I hit the Rampage, and now you can't heal. Good luck getting away. Why the death disparity there, despite what looked like a fairly close affair, 35 to 14. NRG Shock coming out ahead. 2.4k data, 0.4, not too bad whatsoever. Of course, now it's their time to choose the map. NRG Shock are running this kind of Queen comp. Where do you expect we're going to go?
I don't know how much it matters. Just in terms of the fact that you have to be prepared for anything. It is going to be Circuit Royale, though, and ENCE makes a lot of sense for them. Festola, very good with those off-tank heroes. You get an opportunity to potentially play something like the Sigma, which is one of Festola's absolute best heroes. We also finally get a chance to see those little map changes in effect too.
Right, yeah. So I got Royale get changed recently, so we'll see if it ends up mattering a whole bunch here. Of course, that third point, the high ground control a bit easier for the attackers now. You're not walking on basically a tightrope staircase and then peeking around a corner. There's a little bit more cover and there's a little bit more open as well. Much more beneficial for the attackers, a bit easier to get that height. And as well for NRG Shock, I mean, if you want to run the Queen, it's going to be very tough here. Especially if ENCE just want to go a poke style. They can just have the Widow, they can have the Sigma, like you said. Have to wait and see as we jump into map number 2.
I do expect ENCE to come out with something like the Sigma. I think that is a huge possibility. I would be very surprised to see anything else. Just knowing how much we've been able to see Festola have these huge carry performances on something like that. The biggest problem comes in is like, does Kellen want to try to counterpick that? Maybe even with a Winston? Like just jump past the Sigma or something like that? Or do you try to keep going for the Queen?
Looks like they're going for it. Okay, Tree on the Venture.
This definitely speaks like they're expecting the Sigma to come out.
Nice little spawn camp potential as well, which is definitely what they're going to try. You don't really want to high up on this bridge, right? You haven't got any snipers on your team, so going to try holding this small room. Okay, didn't really expect to see a whole lot of Venture, but makes sense. Yeah, if you're expecting Sigma, the Venture can be very frustrating to kind of deal with. The Rock is a very big tool you can use to kind of smash them out of the floor and away. You know, it's a pretty easy target to focus down. The hitbox a little bit bigger than a lot of support and a lot of other DPS, as they are quite chunky in terms of the health pool. Of course, getting shields as well every single time you use the ability can be quite a tough target without CC to actually focus down. Guy's going to answer this actually with a Cassidy. Sky already dead, so I mean, that's not a good start.
But this is where you still have difficulty dealing with the Venture. Venture has great high ground access if you're able to give it space, be able to use some of these bigger cooldowns. I say that, but Calyx gets a really nice whip shot onto Tree.
Yeah, all CDs available there as well for Tree, and Tree hoping they can kind of survive in that fight long enough to get heals and then go aggressive with their own cooldowns. Yeah, all right, spawn camp over. Still a little bit of time bought.
And Trees are automatically going to switch. So off the Venture right now, thought a little bit about maybe going for a different hero pick, but the Sombra makes so much sense, seeing how good that worked in tandem with that Junker Queen. And still not changing anything up though. Doesn't feel the Sigma, wants to go for the Mauga. The Soul is gonna stay to that hero pick, hoping that Kevster can come up big with something like this duplicate in this next fight.
So easy to farm this front line as well. Mauga's such a big target to hit for the Sombra. You get an EMP so quickly. Already a pick coming on to Kellis though. They're going to actually invest in this fight. ENCE are going to use that duplication. It's going to force this to also do the same thing. This cage is going to be rather scary, especially for the front line of ENCE, and they decide better of it. They're going to back off. Happy to trade both duplications.
But now it comes down to the orbital raise. Who's actually going to move first? Who gets the corner territory?
I mean, Tree's almost got an EMP already. Orbital Ray doesn't coming in. That's a very early Ray from UV. Yeah, ENCE making the wise decision there, just backing all the way up, not even peeking the corner.
And now they have the Ray advantage. They can push back NRG Shock with this one, but they've got to go fast before this Rampage and EMP come up.
Yeah, this EMP is going to be massive here. The Rampage too. Orbital Ray, Sky available. There's the Rampage, it's 3. Kevster Festola collects under a lot of duress now. Orbital Ray's good for some additional damage, but look at Kellen, he's in the back line. The entirety of NRG Shock right now just splits up. EMP's good for 4, but can they follow this up? They've already taken severe casualties as the Deadeye pops. A good roll away from Kellen's carnage, but here comes the cage. But Kellen's still swinging, and he can stay alive too. The sustain coming through from this adrenaline rush is looking great, but it's all Sky here. You're not going to match up against the Juno, unfortunately. A rather messy affair as now Tree is back on the sim of all things.
I mean, it's able to get them in very quickly. And you still see Scissors picking up a kill.
How are they still alive? How can ENCE not finish that fight? 2.5 meters to go with a minute remaining. ENCE fumble there. Bestola and Sky alive in that. In a close range situation with the Mauga, not where you want to be, but NRG Shock, hold on.
So much sustain. You got so much time for that Symmetra to come back in. And so big clutch from NRG Shock to be able to stop this cart in its tracks. And
Alex
rally
under a lot of
though.
pressure, ends up popping the rally pretty early. Clearing the tunnels with a couple of flails. Duplication now for Scissors, but look at the orbital ray. They're just going to focus down the front line. And Tree's beam just melting Kai and Kevster inside that orbital ray. Good luck. 20 seconds to go. As ENCE now. Fast heroes to try and get back in time. Kevster on Tracer.
You've got this orbital ray, but it's going to have to be the biggest orbital ray of your life. You're fighting against this photon barrier rampage rally from NRG Shock. And it's not looking good. It's not looking good for ENCE.
They're going to get the touch. And Kevster's still got the recall. Orbital ray comes in. Kevster goes for the one click. Oh, it's a little bit wide, but there's the rampage yet again. Kellen in a good spot. Kellick's already down, and he's hunting for more. An easy kill for the Queen. NRG Shock ruling Circuit Royale as ENCE, they just crumble before the tide. NRG Shock do not care about this meta. Do not care about ENCE. A 2-0 already, almost. Okay, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. But thinking where that payload ended, that clutch TP coming through from Tree and being able to hold on as well. That could have been a very different affair there if Tree wasn't able to get back in time. 93 meters, call it 94 for ENCE. Another big superstar team coming out of EU could be eliminated rather soon, and NRG Shock, they're just taking them to town. Can ENCE hold on?
It is so difficult to full hold this first point of Circuit, which is probably why you already called it a little bit earlier, got ahead of yourself, because it's going to be tough. Taking a look at ENCE and the compositions that they'd like to run, they have a really good shot of being able to get a close hold, but you have to go for that. You have to buy yourself an extra time to be able to come back in and get another defense before you see that golden box of victory. And it might be really difficult because, yes, you have the Reaper, yes, you have the Mauga, you have a lot of just personal sustain. Something else like that cardiac overdrive on top of that lifesteal that you get from the Reaper. But NRG Shock, they have ways to shut that down. If Tree wants to go back to the Sombra, you can. Tree's Widowmaker is also disgusting. So you could just go ahead and open things up with a big pick from this Widowmaker. You're on the attack. You just need one. Only takes one to break that defense.
Show us what you got, Tree. Holding close, good angle, body shot. Onto Sky, he's gonna stick on the Widow. I really like this. You know they're fighting close, and like you said, it only takes one. Sky sent low again as Scissors, first to fall. Very close spawn hole for Shock, but they need to make the time work for them.
That's why you see Tree give this up already. You're going to go for something that's going to be able to get NRG Shock in a little bit faster, or at least out of the spawn door. So you got the Symmetra TP.
I love that TP onto the high ground. Tree then staying in spawn, swaps over to Sombra.
It's a big deal for NRG Shock to just be able to get out the gates. We flipped the map now, and it's going to have to be on ENCE to actually get back to this corner.
A battle of two fronts as well, as Tree was in spawn, pressuring the front line. Ultraviolet, though, ends up going down. Maybe a bit of a false counter there from NRG. Getting held currently. Hey, that's a minute off the time bank. A minute less to worry.
Still a big deal that they have to get through, which is going to be this huge time bank. You don't have any ultimates yet you have to deal with from Shock either, so ENCE be a little bit more comfortable. Kai's put in a ton of work on this Reaper. Make sure you can get really close and get these big body and headshots, and you just got to keep NRG Shock in these doors.
Big slam in from Bestola, pops cardiac overdrive there, focusing down Kellen. Shout from the Queen. Cage available from ENCE, same with that rally. Every ultimate pretty much coming up right now. Tree, of course, swapping over to the Widow, Sim into the Sombra. Quite far behind in terms of ult charge, only 70%.
Yeah.
Here comes the Cage, Orbital Ray comes in, rally from Kellex. And there is another Mauga on your screens. Yep, Scissors duplicates the Mauga, and there's the kill you want. Sky down for ENCE. And as the spawn hole's been broken, as Kevster jumps onto the Queen, gets stunned, goes for a Carnage swing, 2% away from a free Rampage. And there's the kills, and spawn hold eventually broken, but with only 2 minutes to go, ENCE really making it hurt.
Already a big deal from ENCE to be able to get so much of that time off the clock, but you have to deal with 2 more big defensive holds here. This next one, you kind of expect you're gonna lose. You've got the Sombra as well as the Junker Queen, but what is this? ENCE have Vestola coming out on the Zarya of all things.
Another way to cleanse that ultimate. That Rampage can be so deadly. Oh, his tree has been killed off already. EMP in hand for Tree. 1 minute and 15 seconds to go.
But every meter you can push NRG Shock back, the better if you're ENCE, because it buys you so much valuable time to be able to come back in with a last-second contest. NRG Shock, though, setting up for this Rampage.
EMP is good, but Sister's already dead. Where's the damage now for NRG Shock? They've still got the Rampage in hand, but need to count those bubbles. They need to count them now. 1 use. Vestola also going pretty low, and Kellen knows he needs to press the advantage. But ENCE know exactly that. Read them like a book, ends up backing off. They got another fight.
They need time, though. ENCE is looking at this duplicate, maybe a way to be able to extend that fight for them. Kai also coming up with this Death Blossom.
Orbital Ray available for UV as well, and it's going to be a perfect place to use it. Rampage still available. Oh, it's Vestola slain where he stands. The Orbital Ray's going to hit Sky, but I mean, look, the healing is not there anymore after that Rampage. A big axe swing there from Kellen, and the rally should seal the deal from Rack Attack. They only need this 1 point, and 1 point they will get. NRG Shock. They're 1 map away now from ending another of EU's finest. Another run, gone.
Talk about not having home field advantage, maybe. That would be a big deal. I mean, this could be 2 upsets in a row. But do we even call it an upset anymore? When you take a look at how NRG Shock have been approaching this matchup with this Sombra, with this Junker Queen, they figured out their own tempo that they want to play to, the own beat of their drum, and it's working.
Okay, so now you go back to the drawing board. Do you just roll out on something like the Zarya? Something that could do fairly well against the Queen? Or do you just keep running the Mauga, just keep being confident in your own game? A fantastic hold. And kind of a ridiculous one too. I mean, it was all on Tree with those TP back to the point and being able to hold on for this long, even against this cage. I mean, Kellen does end up going down, but bought so much valuable time. You can see those little orbs, the little turrets being flung from the spawn.
And the packs too from Rack Attack on the Brig. As soon as you got sightline onto your Juno, it's like, okay, sure, maybe we actually have this. Maybe we're actually able to keep that full hold alive, and they did.
That Rampage was so good. And normally, you know, the Rampage, well, you're in the back line, it's rather rough, but if you manage to at least tag 1 DPS, 1 support, if you can focus them down, it's pretty easy because there's no kind of cleanse there for ENCE. There's no Suzu, there's no bubble, nothing that can kind of help you out. You are on your own, you're on your own island. You have to be saved by somebody.
I mean, that's why we looked at the Zarya potentially being like that big difference maker from Vestola, being able to come in and actually deal with something like the EMP. But I wonder how much you over-index for something like the Sombra or the Junker Queen by going like Zarya, Kiriko. Is that too risky to actually try to switch things up?
Ultraviolet very happy, same with Weeks in the background there. All right, ENCE get there, another choice of map. And maybe it is too risky to change the backline up. Juno, Kiriko. But again, just mix it up at this point. I mean, you've run the Mauga into the Queen twice. You've run head first into a brick wall pretty much, right? Knocked yourself out twice. Probably best not to do it a 3rd time, but if you are that confident in your own game, in the Mauga and a map maybe that favors you the most. Although saying that too, you're like, NRG's comp does play the same way, right? It's a rush, it wants to get up in your face. I don't think we're going to Ilios with Falcons taking the 1st map, but will be the 3rd map choice. It does sound like we're going to hybrid as well. So Midtown is going to be the pick here for ENCE. What do you make of that?
You're playing into your DPS game. You're looking at a map like Midtown, you're thinking, we've got 2 of the best DPS in the entire world. Taking a look at somebody like Kai, who's able to play with these really long sight lines. Maybe one of the reasons why they had picked Circuit in the first place. But you've got to make sure that your eggs are in the right DPS basket for this one, or else you're going home. This is the one way that ENCE gets a chance to come back into the series.
And then EU's kind of hopes and dreams of taking this tournament do lay in the lap of Twisted Minds. Ideally, right, you have most EU teams making it through, like that happened in Dallas. Like the NA teams just did not show up. It was EU that were the kings. And of course, we are going to Midtown, so that means lots of pigeons on the map.
Your favorite.
All right, adaptations here. I want to see ENCE do something different. Got NRG Shock with Tree, and like you mentioned, a vast hero pool, just massive. He's going to be rocking the Ashe here, so a lot of long-range poke. Kellen's going to play a little bit differently. You can play a little bit more aggressive with the Sombra. Fear of the hack is always going to be there, but with Tree sitting all the way in the back line, Kellen's going to be a little bit more patient with how he wants to get in there.
Got to play a little bit more reactively in that sense, but you're basically just using your Junker Queen to buy enough time for Scissors or Tree to get a pick. These are just poke DPS. You're looking for them to try to delay as long as possible, but ENCE isn't giving them that. They're giving them any breathing room to set up.
All used to deflect there as ENCE just barrel towards the backline of NRG Shock. They're basically fighting on point 2 right now. Yeah, rack attack. Good kill from Kevster. A chance to kind of get back into this one though for ENCE. They are stepping up to the plate. But can they hit a home run? Doesn't look like it. Good coach gun. Tree kept alive. It's enabled Scissors though to go unimpeded. Sky Kellex already dead. Maybe Tree's not the one you want to look at right now. Backline down for ENCE. They got sustained with the cardiac overdrive. Same with Kai, just existing with that life steal. You're not going to make it out alive though, I don't think so. Kai, ooh, just gets the TP off in time. But a tick, you'll take that if you're ENCE.
And with as fast as they went in that very first matchup, you take a look at them being able to close the distance again with that big ring. Oh, Kevster's having a field day right now.
Oh, that'll be all over. Ooh, a couple of... Bit of a weird position for Scissors and Kellen to be in. Of course, they tried to trade backlines there, but it's very tough against the Brig and the Juno. Quite a bit of mobility and a lot of damage as well if Kevster or Vestola. Just 180.
I do wonder if we actually see Tree switch. Like, yes, these sightlines are fantastic for the Ashe, but even taking a look at ENCE's composition, they're not leaning into those mid to long range hit scan heroes. They're still looking at the Genji and the Reaper, trying to be able to close that gap and make sure that you can play a little bit more aggressively and in the face of NRG Shock. Maybe Tree just uses the Bob and thinks a little bit better of switching over to something like the Sombra, despite the fact you've got these beautiful sightlines to work with.
They're not going to be beautiful for long, though.
That's true. Take a look at third point. So maybe you do switch early.
Even just this cart going under the car wash here. It's tough to step up, though, like you said, with the amount of space that they are gaining here. With Tree just overlooking everybody. Overwatching them, if you want to get super technical, I suppose. Oh, here comes the bot. Deployed on the high ground. Tree. There's an extra little bodyguard. So here comes the orbital ray. And the cage. Blade's been popped as well, but quickly shut down by rack attack. A good bash ends the Genji's life. And the duplication cage. We haven't got a Mauga on our team, but it's pretty easy when Sizz is doing so much damage on the Echo. 3 duplications a lot of the time, it feels like. 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go is a rather scrappy affair. Looking like an NRG Shock fight win. Car wash is going to be a rather disastrous place to play as well against Kellen, who's got that rampage once more.
That and Tree gets a chance to set up by the end of that second point. And so it's going to be very difficult to actually approach that cart if you're ENCE, and you're still getting staggered if you're them also, as Vestola finally gets taken down. So NRG Shock buying some very valuable time for themselves. And even more set up, they could even play forward if they wanted to with something like the Rampage, but they think better of it. Getting a chance to set up on that high ground, making sure that ENCE have to come to them so that they fall right into that Rampage trap.
Yeah, ideally, right? I agree. You want to play for that low ground. You want to play so everybody's kind of on the point, like getting as much value as you possibly can from the break heals, from the cardiac overdrive. Looks like you're trying to go on the high ground, but Tree's already taken down Kai. They may get a trade though, but there's the Rampage. Festola and Sky with nothing to cleanse. Oh dear. Very purple and very dead is ENCE right now. And dueling with someone like Kellen too. There's just no chance if you are the Brig. 2.5 minutes. ENCE just struggling to get anything done.
And this looks like another fight that NRG Shock are going to win coming up. You've got the Orbital Ray and the duplicate from Scissors, and that is just going to be tough to chew through. Kai's Death Blossom could get just shut down by something like a Shield Bash. Even just taking a look at some of the other options that NRG Shock have to deal with, that ultimate just back up too. So can Kai actually use it?
Already used the Ray form, that's super early. Death Blossom's good though for some damage, but Kellen just shrugs it off. I think Kill onto Calyx is going to be a good start for NRG Shock. And where's the damage? Where's anything from ENCE? Looking, I would say, some of the most lackluster we've seen from them in recent memory, in all honesty. They used the Orbital Ray Rose, but now they've got Rally, they've got the Bob, they've got a copy. They're in good stead once again to win this next fight.
We're going to see ENCE make a swap, Kai going over to the Ashe, so finally getting a chance to actually lean on what this map architecture actually gives them. But you have to be able to duel this out. Waiting for the Rally, waiting for the Orbital Ray, but NRG Shock pushed the tempo first.
A cheeky bob there from Tree hiding around the corner. One person on the point is Kevster, going pretty low. He's not going to escape though. Yeah, good luck, my son.
Still coming up with picks too, as NRG Shock continue to stall them on this high ground. And just struggling right now. They need this Blade, Orbital Ray, Rally. They have to just crack through this defense, but they're running out of time to do so. 45 seconds left, potentially final opportunity for ENCE to use these ults. Cage 2 from Festola.
Kai's just getting focused down, a good little coach gun, but a copy. Oh, giving him some of his own medicine. And now Scissors is behind. Cage comes in, Orbital Ray as well. ENCE go for the ult dump. Calyx does end up going down to the Pulsar Torpedoes from Ultraviolet. And with 22 seconds to go and a bit of an extra stall, Rose. Doesn't take a mathematician here to work out this next fight is going to be NRG Shock's favor. 15 seconds to go. And 2 ults coming up. Some of the best ults in this comp as well. This Rampage and the Ray.
Tree's also going to be going over to that Tracer, so really big pick potential coming through from NRG Shock.
Oh, there's the Rampage earned from Kellen. They're already focusing down Kai, who's got that Bob. And Kellen could just basically chill. All right, 6v5 now as Bob has been deployed, but here comes the Orbital Ray. And now Kellen, he wants to dance and he's going to lead it. A Rampage might have got a little bit wide. They do need to finish off players though, that's the big thing. Spawn to their advantage. And then they managed to waylay the Orbital Ray damage for a time. But it will be only a single point on the board for ENCE. As NRG Shock just showing up something different in this series.
You can see the smiles and maybe the sigh of relief on NRG Shock's faces. Like, okay. In overtime, stopping ENCE before they're able to capture that second objective. And now they get a chance to play the attack.
It's like Kellen was getting his heart racing there.
Yeah. It's like, whew. My heart is racing watching this.
A 3-0 in the sights of NRG Shock now. Of course. And the crowd goes wild for the pigeon on Midtown. One day they will get transformed into beautiful parrots. Today, unfortunately, is not that day. I know the devs are here. Maybe they're listening. Can we get some parrots on? Can we get some parrots on Midtown instead of the terrifying pigeon? Okay. So NRG Shock now starting with the Sombra here. Or at least after they roll out the gate. And Kai has also made the adaptation over to the Ashe. So
that's what I'm looking at.
Does end up going over to the Ashe, at least Kai can contend with it.
But ENCE are committing to this Ashe right away, not like what we saw in that first round, Kai trying his hand at that Reaper and eventually considering the Ashe as that big change that they needed, but they're gonna start with it now. Tree looking for something on that Widowmaker, decides no, this is how they get it done. High tempo composition with the EMP and that Rampage out the gate.
And because the Sombra change, and like you mentioned it before, So, that's a very low health scissors. Should be fine. You don't stay in stealth like Perma now.
You don't.
You're only in it for a short amount of time, but that's perfect because you don't want to play Perma stealth somber. You want to be up in their faces. You want to be brawling, shooting Mauga in the face, getting EMPs ASAP. And they're getting run over. To put it very lightly, Kellex, Sky, dead. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that is just first point, like that.
Maybe a little bit of a recontest coming through from Festola, but he thinks better of it because he knows the rest of the team just isn't there. They decide to start setting up on this high ground because this is a 5.5-minute time bank that they're going to have to hold this second point for. That is a hard ask for any team, and especially on one of the biggest stages of Overwatch right now.
Yeah, I mean, even Lewis Hamilton would be jealous of the speed of NRG Shock right now, especially with this duplication coming in. They got the orbital ray as well, only 10% away. Sky a little bit further behind. This next fight could determine how this one ends up going through, because if NRG Shock are just able to use Ray to win it, they can then use EMP, then use Duplicate.
They have momentum. Ultraviolets are looking to let this orbital ray go. See if they can launch themselves to victory.
Orbital ray, the heals have to come through. How does Kellen survive that? Festola definitely didn't. On the wrong side, a rack attack there. And that is a team kill in a blink of an eye. 4.5 minutes, Rose. They are under car wash. They've got dupe, EMP, and rally.
Sky has switched over to Kiriko to see if that's going to be the saving grace, but it's got to be frame perfect, this Suzu, if they don't want to get run over and their tournament life ended here.
A tall task for anybody. A rush in, oh, and Scissors just turns Kai into DNA on the pavement. Luckily, those guys going to come in. A Suzu perfectly timed to try and save Vestola's life. Duplication onto the Queen now as Kevster looks for a free rampage. Kellen falls, and they might have just done it, at least for now. 4 minutes in that time bank still for NRG Shock.
Plenty of time for them to be able to get another EMP. Even Tree hasn't died just yet, still working up to another one, just a couple moments time. And if you're ENCE, you use 2 big ultimates here. You're looking at still having to contend with a rampage, with a duplicate from NRG Shock. Tree also switching over to the Ashe, so maybe not even wanting to invest into this EMP because he thinks he could just get the job done by getting a pick from the Ashe.
Can Tree best Kai? One of the most cracked hit scan players in EU. There's the rally. Kai down. Not to Tree, but to Kellen. And here comes the Mauga copy. That rally, they do not care a bit. And they're pushing to low ground. Kellex not with the rest of the team. The entirety of ENCE right now are split. Kai now on the Widowmaker. One of the best Widows in the EU, in all honesty. A rampage is going to hit the front line in Scissors. And Kellen are going to clean house as NRG Shock eliminates ENCE. A 3-0. It's not so easy anymore. Not when you're facing the Shock.
Huge win here for NRG Shock. On the big stage, with their backs and their tournament life on the line. A 3-0 victory. This is a whole new team right now that we're seeing, completely playing off script, off meta. Huge carry performance coming through there from the DPS as well.
An unbelievable off-meta look. Kellen jumping onto the Queen and ENCE not providing really any answers to it. And ENCE a 3-0. Space Station gone. ENCE gone. Twisted Minds the last hope for EU. An insane victory to say the very least. Still the Titans, the Juggernauts, in the likes of Toronto Defiant, Crazy Raccoon, Team Falcons, of course, up in the upper bracket currently. But this is all NRG Shock's day now. A 3-0, a massive confidence boost. And you best believe any opposition that's facing them are going to be watching these VODs, making sure they know how to deal with this Queen comp, because it looked scary.
They've got at least a night to think about it, because this is certainly a comp that every team is going to have to look at and know they're facing at some point or another if they want to make it through this lower bracket and the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're in the lower bracket. This is where dreams are truly made as well for NRG. Can they just continue this? That is going to be the big question. Who will their opposition be? Of course, we'll find out that tomorrow. I mean, look, You don't ideally want to face Crazy Raccoon on Team Falcon. Come on, let's be real with ourselves here, but still, teams like Toronto Defiant are up there too. What a statement maker as well. At Dallas, NA, they were not existent. EU, they had their number. This time around, it's different. We're going to jump down over to Golden Boy now as we get an interview.
All right, and I gotta say, that camera shot looks great, Peter. You absolutely knocked it out of the park. I'm here with Tree now from NRG Shock. Tree, congratulations, man. What a response to going down in the elimination bracket like that, but a massive 3-0 victory. How does it feel to be able to get that one over the line after what you guys went through in that first match?
Yeah, I mean, just a good win overall. I think Crazy Raccoons, obviously they're best. Like, going into that Elios first map, we knew they were going to be on ball. It's, like, really hard. And I think after that, we kind of lost a little bit of confidence. But I think we vodded a little bit. And the main thing we realized was, like, we know our strength. We know how to play this Queen comp. No one else really has a read on it, I feel like. So if we just play to our strengths, we win, and we don't lose confidence after that loss. And we did just that.
Well, I actually want to, you don't got to give me too many details about this, but the Queen's looking pretty good for y'all right now. Was this the thing that you guys figured out in scrims prior to this? Something you figured out here? Kind of give us the lowdown of how you guys came to this composition and why you feel so confident with it.
Yeah, so I think after the Arista meta, and there was like the one patch that we swapped to after that, everyone started playing Maga when like people were still figuring out the meta, and we just kind of picked Queen, and we just did not lose since. So we just kept running it and kept playing it, and it worked.
So we should be expecting more Queen?
Yeah, everyone knows at this point, so why not?
Everyone knows already, so why not? All right, Tree, I want to thank you so much for your time, my man. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and check out the winning moment for NRG Shock right now.
I'm Cullen.
아니 켜 아니 켜.
Big one. Just break.
What up? Nice.
Nice, we go again. Good job.
You can see the relief there from NRG Shock, bringing this over the line in a 3-0 fashion against the team that was expected, just like SSG, to make a deep run in this bracket. Welcome back to the desk. So we're here joined by Jake and Johnny.
We're
about
overall,
to break it all down, but first
Raccoon.
things first, let's give some credit where credit is due. And that's, of course, for our MVP performer of this match.
Yeah, it's got to be Tree. I mean, this guy put up a ridiculous performance. The flexibility, playing Sombra. I mean, this is after Sombra got a rework. A lot of people thought this hero's unplayable. This hero doesn't have any place in the meta. Well, Tree's found it. And I think building around that Queen comp, his flexibility to play the Sombra at such a high level, but also to have the hit scan in the pocket. I mean, any hero you need this guy on, he's going to deliver. And I think that is really a huge secret to NRG success. It's an open secret, though, at this point, because everyone who's played in the NA rank ladder knows about Tree. He is an absolute demon. Definitely a player to watch. Even got to see a little bit of the sim come out. It was unconventional, but a perfect pick in this clutch fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see Tree flourish as well, because we have high hopes for Tree. We really do think that Tree can continue to improve and become one of the best players in the world. But you need to do more than just NA, right? You need to prove it on a global stage, and Tree is doing exactly that here in Stockholm.
And what a fantastic redemption arc for this entire roster, really. After the performance we've seen from them towards the end of the season, there were a lot of questions about that roster and how they will perform here on the international stage against the greats. Amongst them being ENCE, or also SSG, of course, from Europe. So this is a really, really great showing for not just them, but for NA as a whole, Jake. You can gloat, you can let it out, we're ready for it.
Bottom 2 EU, that's tough. That's tough. In front of the home crowd, no less. But hey, sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. We took our licks in Dallas, North Americans, but maybe it's time. Maybe it's time for the redemption arc. Still, though, that upper bracket, Falcons, Crazy Raccoon looks so scary, looks so threatening. Crazy Raccoon, I mean, think about this is such a dominant win for NRG, and it almost makes you forget the type of performance that Crazy Raccoon delivered this morning. So still, I think a lot more complexity to come in this tournament. We're yet to see, I think, how NRG will continue to perform with this Queen comp.
Okay, Johnny, I do want a few words, though, on the other side here. ENCE, their performance today, obviously not what we wanted to see, what they wanted to see from themselves. It was no secret that they're not a fan of this meta, most likely not the most confident, but they have such high caliber players.
They do. I mean, they're the stage 3 champions, and they were dominant in that type of meta, right? Especially when Vestola find himself on that Diva, which is his signature hero. I mean, they were flourishing, and Kevster has been a standout all year, of course, being the EMEA MVP. So that about tells you how good these players are, right? But in a meta like this, I think Vestola struggled quite a bit on the Mauga, especially here against NRG, adapting to how NRG play this game. So it's a tough meta for ENCE to find themselves in, and I do feel like they feel a little bit like maybe they weren't able to put their best foot forward, and that is a bit of a shame considering what we know they can do.
Absolutely, yeah. ENCE, unfortunately, they ended up playing Shock's game here. Shock was dictating the tempo throughout the entirety of this series, looking absolutely phenomenal on each and everything they played. Let's take a look at the bracket to see where we're at after just 1 day of gameplay. We had to say goodbye to 2 teams already. I feel like there's a bunch of upsets in here.
I mean,
Maybe.
yeah.
If you didn't believe in NA from the start, you might have called these upsets.
Okay. I need to restore a little bit of clout. I did say Nightmare, you know, they're a dark horse. I'm excited to see the
As you
Frostman
predicted
play.
against them.
Well, okay. It was not. There's no winning here. I think there's no winning for me.
Only for me. Only for me.
Not if you're you.
Enjoy this
I
moment, Jake.
predicted Nightmare.
Oh yeah, so we predicted Nightmare. Of course.
course.
There's a screenshot somewhere, so you know there is evidence.
Hey, listen, Johnny, we still got Twisted Minds.
Yeah, we still have Twisted Minds.
Twisted Minds are gonna make the
Force
back.
and Lambda.
They're gonna eliminate every NA team left.
That's
That's what I'm
right.
talking about.
They're gonna click here.
I might have to eat my words. There's a
There's a
distinct
chance.
possibility of that. I won't write it off. They've been popping off.
That's right. Well, 2 EMEA teams are out. 6 teams are left in this competition. It remains very exciting as the competition is whittling down. I mean, these matches could honestly go either way.
If the matches were decided randomly, then NA has the best chance to win.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying.
This is the schedule for tomorrow. Which one catches your eyes?
I mean, I think both of these matchups are going to be really exciting because I do think that Nightmare, with their proactive play, like being so aggressive, it's going to be interesting to see if they can like force some kind of momentum and try to get an advantage over Falcons. We saw today Falcons had to adjust. Might be a similar kind of story where Falcons will once again be forced to adjust to Nightmare's aggressive play.
I mean, this is like a best case scenario for Nightmare to upset Team Falcons, right? It's a meta that's all about team play. It's all about communications. Falcons have historically been incredibly strong. I mean, their individuals are awesome. Whenever they play a comp that really puts the individuals at the forefront, allows them to thrive. Yes, they're insanely dominant, but I think the coordination of an aggressive rush or brawl style, especially one in this meta, you know, that kind of could be more chaotic, more random, and I think it's kind of up to the teams to communicate well in the moment under the pressure. I would have thought Nightmare is a team that would struggle under that pressure, right? With so many rookie players, like less experienced players coming together, but it seems that they're thriving in it, and that could be just what they need to take down Falcons on land.
I mean, the thing is, the only team that didn't really show a crack in the armor is Team Raccoon, so they remain on top for now. With the other matches, we'll have to see tomorrow. After this first day of play, what is our big takeaway? What's the learning experience here? Share with class, please.
I think my big story for the day is play to your strengths. We saw both Twisted Minds, of course. We talked endlessly about the fact that they've been playing this Ashe and Pharah composition. But similarly, NRG, they decided early, like Tree said, that Junker Queen is our kind of composition. And we've seen them adjust their playstyle accordingly. They like to sit back and they like to make things difficult for the enemy Mauga, to the point where ENCE, you know, one of the best teams in EMEA, they couldn't find any momentum and they couldn't adapt accordingly to a pretty wonky Echo, Sombra, Junker Queen composition that just devastates Mauga. And so I think we saw that some teams, yeah, like Crazy Raccoon, they're the best team in the world, yeah, they countered NRG. But they gave at least NRG a chance to compete here in Stockholm, and that earned themselves a win in the lower bracket, which is really impressive.
Absolutely is. You're nodding in agreement, so let's just leave it at that. It was a very long day, an exciting day with lots of upsets, great storylines heading our way as we're diving into our second day of OWCS action. But that is, of course, tomorrow. For now, we're going to say goodbye. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we hope to see you again for all the action tomorrow. Day 2 here of the OWCS Grand Finals in Stockholm here at the DreamHack.